everybody. This is Suzette and welcome to my channel where I am redefining my 60s on my own terms. Now, part of that redefinition has been around politics because us seniors are a significant voting bloc and we care about this country. We care about how we're going to live during retirement, and also the future we're leaving for our children, our children's children. So this is going to be a good discussion. Adjusting my camera just a little bit because I want you to see my t-shirt, Healing is the Vibe. I think this is so cool. So anyway, I'm sitting here in my loft. Now you may end up hearing a little noise because my husband is here too. It's just one of those things that happens when you are virtual. It's just part of our climate, right? So I just want to give you a heads up about that. I also wanted to let you know that over the last few episodes, I have been deep diving into Agenda 47. So if you haven't looked at them yet, I invite you to look at some episodes that I have already done. I've already talked about education. That was my first episode. Then I went to immigration, crime, and healthcare. And today's focus is going to be on the economy, which I think is absolutely very timely, given that we are coming right off an extraordinarily wonderful Democratic National Convention, where right prior to that, VP Kamala Harris unfolded her economic plan. So this is very timely. It's fresh, it's new. She went into more detail during the Democratic Convention, and I hope for those of you who are listening to provide you with a little bit more information regarding Agenda 47 and how it applies, how it kind of how it aligns with Project 2025, namely that Agenda 47 is the list of things that the Trump administration wishes to accomplish. And Project 2025 is the how-to manual on how to get these things done in a conservative manner. And I use that loosely because there are conservatives who are just as concerned about Project 2025 as we Democrats are. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be talking about today, zeroing in on the economy. As with the other episodes, I'm going to put links to where I've gotten my information from in the description so that you can, elaborate on the study. I have a little bit of time, so I'm not going to go as deeply as I would if I was, just doing this off camera, because we don't want this episode to be 2 or 3 hours long. I'm going to try to keep it as concise as I can, hitting the major points that I want to make. Now, leave no doubt, I am a Harris-Walz supporter, and this is not so much to sell you on them as a ticket. It is namely to let you in on my own personal study about Agenda 47, Project 2025, because part of redefining my 60s is taking it upon me not just to like what I'm hearing the candidates say, but to really deep dive into what they're proposing and also what they're presenting. Character matters, integrity matters, your record matters, and I often say context matters. What I found very concerning is that oftentimes the electorate looks at things as single snapshots, just like we do in social media. We look at different snapshots, but we don't look at the context and how one thing goes into another thing and affects another thing and affects another thing. So part of what I'm doing here is looking at Agenda 47, which is on Trump's website, and then looking at other avenues to really dig down more deeply into the economic plan differences between Trump and Harris. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start by, I'm going to go through the 8 points taken from Donald Trump's list of that comprises his Agenda 47. It's a PDF. You can download it if you choose to. I think it's 16 pages or something like that. So it's not very long. It just hits the key points, okay? So chapter 3, build the greatest economy in history. Our commitment: American workers are the most productive, talented, and innovative on earth. The only thing holding them back is the suffocating policies of the Democrat Party. Our America First economic agenda rests on 5 pillars: slashing regulations, cutting taxes, securing fair trade deals, ensuring reliable and abundant low-cost energy, and championing innovation. Together, we will restore economic prosperity and opportunity for all Americans. Emphasis: all Americans. Okay, number 1, cut regulations. Republicans will slash regulations that stifle jobs, freedom, innovation, and make everything more expensive. We will implement transparency and common sense in rulemaking. Number 2, make Trump tax cuts permanent and no tax on tips. Republicans will make permanent the provisions of the Trump tax cuts and Jobs Act that doubled the standard deduction, expanded the child tax credit, and spurred economic growth for all Americans. We will eliminate taxes on tips for millions of restaurant and hospitality workers and pursue additional tax cuts. Number 3, fair and reciprocal trade deals. Republicans will continue forging an America First trade policy as set forth in Chapter 5, standing up to countries that cheat and prioritizing American producers over foreign outsourcers. We will bring our critical supply chains back home. Former President Trump, I will say, turned American trade policy around, protecting U.S. producers and renegotiating failed agreements. Number 4, reliable and abundant low-cost energy. Republicans will increase energy production across the board, streamline permitting, and end market distorting restrictions on oil, natural gas, and coal. The Republican Party will once again make America energy independent and then energy dominant, lowering energy prices even below the record lows achieved during former President Trump's first term. 5, champion innovation. Republicans will pave the way for future economic greatness by leading the world in emerging industries. Number 5, champion. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still on number 5. Okay, this is how the main things they're looking at. Crypto. Republicans will end Democrats' unlawful and un-American crypto crackdown and oppose the creation of a central bank digital currency. We will defend the right to mine Bitcoin and ensure every American has the right to self-custody of their digital assets and transact free from government surveillance and control. Artificial intelligence. We will repeal Joe Biden's dangerous executive order that hinders AI innovation and imposes radical left-wing ideas on the development of this technology. In its place, Republicans support AI development, rooted in free speech and human flourishing, expanding freedom, prosperity, and safety in space. Under Republican leadership, the United States will create a robust manufacturing industry in near-Earth orbit, send American astronauts back to the moon and onward to Mars, and enhance partnerships with the rapidly expanding commercial space sector to revolutionize our ability to access, live in, and develop assets in space. So these 5 points summarize Trump's build the greatest economy in history. Okay, so now let's look at this a little bit more closely. When I read that, I started looking at several things. I looked at VP Kamala Harris's economic plan. I looked at Project 2025 and what it has to say that relates to Agenda 47. I looked at corporate taxes before and after Trump tax law. It's called ITEP. I looked at Trump's final numbers on factcheck.org of where things were when that Joe Biden inherited from him. Okay. And I felt like all these were important aspects with respect to economy, and also speak to whether Trump can be trusted in doing the things that he said he's going to do, and if what he said he's going to do is going to actually make our economy more robust for all people, or only the corporate upper 1% of this country. One of the things that soon-to-be President Kamala Harris has said is one of the defining things of her presidency is building up the middle class. So I thought I needed to look at these different aspects more closely to get more of a feel of Harris versus Trump with respect to the economy, which for all intents and purposes has been something that Trump has touted as being a defining and legitimate accomplishment under his administration. And I want to look at whether it actually was. And if it was, whose shoulders he was actually standing on, right? So let's just look at this, okay? Okay. Let's look at how Project 2025 aligns with or informs how Trump is going to go about accomplishing his Agenda 47. Okay, let's look at that. Let's see. Project 2025 is a plan to make Trump and his rich friends even richer. And I don't think any of us would doubt that statement. One of the things that he has really energized his base with is that he is, quote unquote, a successful businessman, that he is rich. That's what he's been touting. And over the years, in us watching him eat during his 4 years, and even the people who he has rubbed elbows with, people he has brought into his administration, people he has consorted with, some would even say schemed with, were the very rich and powerful people. So Suffice it to say, his plan will cut taxes for him and his rich friends and will increase their profits. Okay? One of the things pointed out in Project 2025 on page 696 of that document, the corporate income tax should be reduced to 18%. So when it said that he's going to impose tax cuts to make his wealthy friends wealthier, that is a legitimate statement. That is a legitimate statement. Okay. He's planning on cutting taxes for wealthy families, offset by tax hikes on middle class families. If you look at page 696 on Project 2025, he would restructure the tax code to benefit wealthy families. So if you grab that document, that 900 plus page document, then go on over to page 696 and see that. It says here, millions of low and middle class households would likely face significantly higher taxes under the Project 2025's proposals. This comes from the Center for American Progress. Okay. It's estimated that a middle class family with 2 children and an annual income of $100,000 would pay $2,600 in additional federal income tax. If they faced a 15% flat tax on their income due to the loss of the 10% and 12% tax brackets. If the child tax credit were also eliminated, they would pay an additional $6,600 compared with today's tax system. This Duke, who is the director for economic policy, his name is Brendan Duke, and he's in under the Center for American Progress. He's the senior director. Okay, he said, by comparison, a married couple with 2 children and earnings of $5 million a year would enjoy a $325,000 tax cut, he estimated. So you see the stark difference in who's going to really benefit from Trump's proposed tax cuts or anticipated tax cuts. One of the, on page 465 of Project 2025, it says, quote, repeal harmful health policies enacted under the Obama and Biden administrations, such as the Inflation Reduction Act, which speaks to them lining big pharma's pockets by ending prescription drug price caps for seniors and banning Medicare from negotiating for lower drug prices. One of the things we already know that was celebrated during VP Harris and Governor Walz's rallies was how under the Biden-Harris administration, they have capped the cost of insulin to $35, right, a month, and have made it where Medicare can negotiate for lower drug prices. But if we look at Project 2025, that would go away. So that's important to keep in mind. Okay. My husband is laughing in the other room. I can hear him. I don't know if y'all could hear him too. Another thing that I looked at that I thought was very telling If you look at pages 587, 589, and 592 under Project 2025, they let employers drastically cut overtime or eliminate it outright. And the reason why the Harris-Walz ticket or is saying this is because these pages point to a return to Trump's overtime rule, meaning 4 million middle-class workers will lose overtime protections because of the salary they make. It would make remote employees work 10 instead of 8 hours in a day before they can earn overtime. It would prevent benefits from counting as part of workers' overtime calculations. It would allow employers to calculate overtime over 4 weeks instead of 1. So that's not good. In fact, that would affect our household. It would definitely affect it. Another thing that I feel like affects especially students coming out of college with student debt, what would affect them economically and would affect their ability to be able to live independently, to own a home, to prosper in the economy, instead of living in their parents' basements, and things like that, or having to move in together because they can't afford to live even after going to college, which college during my day was supposed to improve their economic standing instead of them coming out being poor before they even get a job. They are in mountains of debt, their student loans, even before they even get a job. So I thought this was very important. If you look at pages 337 through 338, it talks about basically reinstating crippling student debt payments. It says, in quotes, the new administration must end abuses in the loan forgiveness programs. Borrowers should be expected to repay their loans. That's page 322. Okay, that's page 322. Forgive me. Pages 337 and 338. This is the quotes for that. The secretary should phase out all existing, in brackets, income-driven repayment plans by making new loans, including consolidation loans, ineligible. If new legislation is possible, there should be no loan forgiveness, but if not, existing law would require forgiving any remaining balance after 25 years. That's basically pages 337 and 338. So it's basically saying these students who they would end forgiving crippling student debt payments. So that has a significant effect on people coming out of college. So that was one website that I looked at. And I'll have that detail. I went to the KamalaHarris.com, Project 2025. That's where this information came from. I also looked at ITEP.org. That stands for the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy. because I want to look at corporate taxes before and after the Trump tax law. Okay, so let me scroll down and look at what the findings were. Okay. Okay, key findings. America's largest consistently profitable corporations saw their effective tax rates fall from an average of 22% to an average of 12.8% after the Trump tax law went into effect in 2018. Okay, which speaks to, yeah, his wealthy friends benefited. Um, it says the 296 largest and consistently profitable U.S. corporations in this study paid $240 billion less in taxes from 2018 to 2021 than if they had continued to pay the effective rates they'd paid before the Trump tax law. Okay, let's see what other findings they had. While profits for the largest continuously profitable U.S. corporations rose by 44% after passage of the Trump tax law, their federal tax bills dropped by 16%. Okay. The number of these corporations paying tax rates of less than 10% increased from 56 to 95 after the Trump tax law went into effect. And lastly, many of the largest and most well-known corporations in the country, including Walmart, Verizon, Disney, and Meta, had the largest tax reductions after the Trump tax law went into effect. Now, let me ask you a very pointed question, because there's been some talk about how giving these people tax breaks would have a trickle-down effect on the rest of us. Between 2018 and 2021, did you notice a significant trickle-down effect? I ask you, did you notice that? Now, let me bring some context, because some of you might say, well, yeah, some of you may say, well, no. I can tell you, I did not, I did not see how this translated in me getting a more significant tax break, being in the middle class. I didn't see it. I saw more tax breaks for me under Democratic leadership when Obama was in office and when Biden was in office. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. Okay. And then for context, we have to look at something, and something that I have found that in different people who have favored Trump's economic policies, what they have failed to mention is that Trump inherited the very responsible handling of our country that was in economic free fall when President Obama assumed office. And over his 8 years of digging us out of, what is it, the greatest recession in my lifetime. He put us back on the road of economic recovery. And I talk about this in some of my previous episodes, how he put us back on the road to recovery. And when Trump came into office, he inherited an economy that was continuing to recover. He was not the reason for it. Understand? He was not the reason for it. He inherited it. And if you go back and look at Fact Check, PolitiFact, if you look at these things, at these different entities, they will say the very same thing. They look at how the economy was improving when Trump inherited it, and some of the decisions that Trump made even before COVID that showed that there was signs of economic decline. I want y'all to know. I want you to know. Middle class was not seeing a whole lot of significant improvement. And what COVID did is it truly exaggerated some of Trump's poor decision making in how he was handling things. And again, and I'm going to go to what things were like at the end of Trump's presidency that Biden inherited. I think that's only right and it's only fair, because context is very important in seeing who creates the problems, who cleans the problems up, who creates more problems, who cleans the problems up. And history, at least in my history, when George Bush created problems, Barack Obama cleaned those problems up. Trump creates problems, Biden cleans them up. So, yeah, they inherit some really, Democrats historically have inherited some really bad economic consequences from the previous administration, and have had to make almost Herculean efforts to really dig us out. Now that's just factual, and I'm gonna prove that point. Okay, so let's go over there to it, shall we? Let's look at Trump's final numbers. Okay, let's look at those. These are statistics from factcheck.org. Speaking of, and the date of this is October 2021, October 8th, 2021, and it posted and it was updated July 26th, 2024, so that we can make sure that all the statistics were in to give a more accurate report. Okay, so let's look at this. The economy lost 2.7 million jobs. The unemployment rate increased by 1.7 percentage points to 6.4%. Biden didn't do this. This is the way things were at the end of Trump's presidency. He could not blame from 2018. What is it? 2018. How long was he president? Let me look back. 2020, 2021. Yeah, is that 18, 19, 20, 20? Yeah, that's 4 years. So he can't blame the decisions he made. Now, he tried. He kept saying that it was, any hiccups that he had, any things that looked negative, he never took ownership of it. He always blamed his predecessor, even though he was the president during that time. And he was making decisions, right? So this is where things were. And he cannot blame Obama for the decisions he made during COVID. He cannot blame Obama for how the economy was starting to show early signs of going in a not so much upward trajectory even before COVID. He couldn't blame Obama for that. Right? Okay. It says after tax corporate profits went up, and the stock market set new records. Okay? Which tends to happen. The S&P 500 index rose 67.8%. Excuse me. Excuse me again. I'm telling you. The number of people lacking health insurance rose by 3 million. The federal debt held by the public went up from 14.4 trillion to 21.6 trillion. Home prices rose 27.5%, and the home ownership rate increased 2.1 percentage points to 65.8%, y'all. I want y'all to listen. This is from check.org. Illegal immigration increased. Apprehensions at the southwest border rose 14.7% his last year compared with 2016. And he kept talking about coal. He was going to bring those coal jobs back. Y'all remember? Now, I remember him saying that. Listen, coal production declined 26.5%, and coal mining jobs dropped by 25%. Right? Yeah. Handgun production rose 12.5% his last year compared to 2016, setting a new record. The murder rate his last year rose to the highest level since 1997. Oh, yeah. Talking about stacking the courts. Trump filled 1/3 of the Supreme Court, nearly 30% of the appellate court seats, and a quarter of district court seats. This is why you got to do your homework, y'all. This is why you got to do your homework. And of course, they go into deeper analysis. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to something more encouraging. How about that? You ready for something more encouraging? Okay, let's go look at Kamala Harris's economic platform and why it resonates across party lines. Okay, let's look at it. Let's see. Okay, in a poll conducted just after Harris announced her economic agenda, we found that each of the 17 policies asked about is strongly or somewhat supported by at least half of Americans. The largest share to oppose any policy is just 27%. Okay? The most popular components of the platform concern healthcare, more specifically drug costs. We went into that when I looked at healthcare, but I'm trying to think, had she laid out her policy then? I'm not sure. So let's just talk about it briefly, okay? Those include plans to increase the number of drugs eligible for Medicare price negotiations. 82% support for it. Cap the monthly cost of insulin at $35, 78% support on that, and a cap of out-of-pocket annual expenses for prescription drugs at $2,000. 72% of Americans support that. Harris's proposal to expand the earned income tax credit for lower wage workers is supported by 73% of Americans. Restoring the pandemic era child tax credit of $3,600 per child is supported by a smaller majority, 59%, but that's still above half, right? As is her idea to provide a $6,000 child tax credit to families with babies under 1 year old. And who said the Democrats aren't in support of folks having children? Listen. Okay. Housing policies included in Harris's agenda are also popular, although somewhat less so than her ideas around healthcare. 63% are in favor of expanding a tax credit for housing developers building affordable rental units, and 62% favor preventing landlords from using algorithmic price setting tools. Okay? Between 53% and 59% support removing tax benefits for investors who buy single-family rental homes in bulk, increasing federal investment towards local efforts to address housing shortages, providing a tax credit for developers building homes sold to first-time home buyers, providing $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, and directing the federal government to work with industry to build 3 million new homes in the next 4 years. These are part of her economic plans. Okay? She proposed the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food, a plan that observers have interpreted in a variety of ways, to be clear, but their survey asked about capping increases on food and grocery prices, which they found is supported by 65% of Americans. So let's look at, let's see, I've read through them. Trump has a list. So let's just go through this list of what she proposes. And most Americans are in support of. Okay? Increasing the number of drugs eligible for Medicare price negotiations. Here, here. capping the monthly cost of insulin at $35. Hear, hear. Expanding the earned income tax credit for lower wage workers by up to $1,500. Hear, hear. Capping out-of-pocket annual expenses for prescription drugs at $2,000. Hear, hear. Directing the federal government to work with states to eliminate Americans' medical debt. Hear, hear. Capping increases on food and grocery prices. Hear, hear. Expanding a tax credit for housing developers who build affordable rental units. Hear, hear. Maintaining the Federal Reserve's independence from a presidential administration. Hear, hear. Preventing corporate landlords from using algorithmic price setting tools, meaning they can jack up prices. Hear, hear. Restoring the pandemic era child tax credit of $3,600 per child. Hear, hear. Providing a $6,000 child tax credit for families with children who are younger than 12 months. Hear, hear. Removing tax benefits from investors who buy single-family rental homes in bulk so they can jack the prices up. Hear, hear. And I'm going to tell you, from someone who lives in a community, I bought my house through the USDA initiative back it was in 2011, 2012, where they were giving federal government assistance to first-time home buyers under that initiative. And I moved out in a more rural area and bought my home. Have homeowners, we pay homeowners dues and all of this. And in the beginning, it was a thriving community. But what I have noticed is the more that the properties have been bought by commercial property owners, they have not been keeping up and maintaining their properties as well as people that own their properties and take pride in their properties. Things like lawn maintenance. We have noticed the grass gets so high before they send someone to cut the grass. They have to get a whole lot of letters and warnings from our homeowner, the people that maintain our properties. They have to get lots of letters before they even do it. I noticed they do not maintain. I've noticed mold growing on the sides of homes. And it's mainly the homes that were bought up by these commercial companies and rented out. And they're not being maintained with the same vigilance as us homeowners. So I understand that. And so I'm all for what she's proposing. That not these people not buying these properties up in bulk and then renting them out, but not maintaining them. They jack the rent up, but then they don't maintain the property as well. I've noticed that. Oh, let's see, where was I? What Harris is also proposing. Let's see, I talked about being bought up in bulk. Where was that? Okay, yeah. Increasing federal investment to $40 billion toward local efforts to address housing shortages, providing a tax credit for developers building homes sold to first-time home buyers. Hear, hear. Providing $25,000 in down payment assistance to first-time home buyers. Hear, hear. Isn't that wonderful? Because a lot of times people have difficulties raising the money to put down on the homes. So this is wonderful. Directing the federal government to work with industry to build 3 million new homes in the next 4 years. Hear, hear, extending subsidies toward costs from the Affordable Care Act exchanges. So when you go out on the exchange, that website, extending the subsidies. And I mentioned, if you go back and you listen to my episode on healthcare, I shared how I was able to afford top-notch healthcare because of the subsidies that the federal government extended to me. So here. So I wanted to come on and I encourage you all. I encourage you to do your own research. Do your research. And honestly, I am not buying this thing about Trump not having any understanding of Project 2025. I don't buy it. I do not buy it. As a matter of fact, let's see, I had brought up, where is it, about Project 2025 and how he's saying he doesn't know anything about it and that kind of thing. I don't buy it because of the people who put it together. Who put it together? Let me see if I can find that I have pulled up about why it is very doubtful when he says he knows nothing about Project 2025. That it's very doubtful that that is very true because there's already some things that are taking place that have taken place over the years that come directly from that playbook, that come directly from that playbook, from people who he has been in relationship with, in business with, people in his administration, that kind of thing. Okay, here it is. Let's see. Let's see if this is it. Okay, here we go. I'm looking at, it's called The Conversation, Project 2025. Why is it and why does Trump say he knows nothing about it? Okay, it says think tank policy proposals rarely make the headlines, but 2024 is no ordinary year, and Project 2025 is no usual set of plans for government. This is a not very secret set of plans that Republicans have put together in order to be ready to leap into the White House if elected and instantly get to work. But the twist in this tale is that Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says he doesn't know anything about it. Or does he? Incongruently, Trump has declared both that I know nothing about Project 2025 and I disagree with some of the things they're saying. So how can you disagree with some of the things they're saying if you don't know anything about Project 2025? I ask you, how can both be true? Okay? This despite many of its authors of the document, prepared by right-wing think tank, the Heritage Foundation, having a close association with Trump and his inner circle, and many expecting to receive jobs if he is elected. One of the authors recently even said that Trump had given it his blessing. Okay? It says, while Trump may be trying to keep Project 2025 under his hat, it seems the Democrats certainly aren't. It was referenced in a number of speeches at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, including by Vice Presidential hopeful Tim Walz. Okay? So you can read it in detail, but you know, it's just not giving honesty, especially when rolling back Roe v. Wade, excuse me, that Dobbs decision comes out of that playbook. It comes out of the playbook. So I don't want this to be super duper long, as it could very well be, but I just wanted you to just have a bird's eye view. I always encourage you to do your own research. That's very important, especially if you are undecided, excuse me, or you're an independent. See, this is what I get for eating before coming on. I just can't stop belching. It's also one of those things that I find happens a lot when you get older. It just is what it is. But I encourage you to do your due diligence. And if you like what I'm saying, you like that I'm being able to lay it out, to give you a chance to really think through it. I'm not giving you a whole lot of noise, a whole lot of name calling, and none of that. I'm just laying it out in a succinct and intelligent way. And if you like that, please give a thumbs up to this episode, to my other previous episodes. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. A shout out to my friends who said that their mothers are finding what I've shared very helpful to them, because there's a lot of talk about Project 2025, but not a lot about Agenda 47. And the reason why there's more talk about Project 2025, it is the how-to of a lot of things that are listed in Agenda 47. It is the list. Project 2025 is the how-to manual. It is the manual that really highlights how Trump can have the absolute power to be able to do a lot of things through executive order, and to have a Congress in his back pocket to set things up so that he can exact this right-wing agenda. So I caution you, if you're looking at Agenda 47 and you're saying, oh, that's not that bad. In fact, that sounds good. I want you to look at it, however, through the lens of a person who has absolute power, does not have checks and balances, or as soon to be President Kamala Harris put it in her wonderful speech at the Democratic National Convention, if he has no guardrails. Imagine how absolute power corrupts. Think about that. Not having anybody to push back and say, no, you should not do this, or no, have you thought this through, or no, the will of the people is, or no, people are suffering, or no, this is not good, or no, this is not going to work, or no, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. And he doesn't have anybody else but yes people in strategic places who are willing to commit crimes to make sure they push what he wants, and he has the power to forgive them. He has the power to forgive himself. The Supreme Court has already given him immunity. If he gets elected to office, he can do whatever he wants to do as president in the due course of the presidency, and not be prosecuted for it. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. Suppose he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and he's already saying things that are causing his credibility, his lucidity of mind to be questioned already. He's getting facts confused, even saying such things like, where is Hunter? Like Hunter Biden. And you're talking about this person having no accountability, none, zero, zilch, nada, having that kind of power and alluding to setting things up so that his extreme agenda would continue on and on and on without being able to be contested. If that is not a dictatorship, I don't know what is. If that is not against democracy, where, as he put it, you lovely, beautiful Christians, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. If that does not allude to dictatorship and goes against the democratic process where we, the people, get to elect, we, the people, have our voices heard through our votes. Think about it. Voter suppression would not even be a thing. And even if we said, oh no, our votes were suppressed, he could always say, have people in place to say, no, And even if they were, think about that, y'all. So I ask you all to really think about who you are electing and how that will really affect not just how you live, but future generations. If you love the freedoms and rights that you have had and actually take them for granted because there's so much interwoven into the fabric of you being an American, then it's very clear the direction you should vote, because people across all party lines and even some of the wealthiest among us are supporting Harris because they're saying, listen, we're so wealthy that if we have to pay more in taxes, hey, no harm, no foul. If this is going to make things more equitable, or it's going to help other people to thrive, we don't mind. And this is where I have an issue with what Como said when he was at the DNC. He was talking about how each party at their conventions had these big corporations. And he's saying, you're talking about going against the big corporations and PACs and whatever, and they're right here at your convention. Well, is it possible that all corporate heads are not greedy? Could it be that some corporations have a heart? Is it possible that some of the very wealthiest among us are saying, no, we value democracy, we value these things, and we see Trump as a clear and present danger. So if we have to pay more in taxes, it's worth it. Just like some of the Republicans, they're saying, hey, we differ in policies. We're not saying that we're defecting on the Republican Party to become Democrats. We're just saying we're putting country above our political party. And we see Donald Trump as a clear and present danger. So we're voting with Harris because we know that democracy and our rights and our freedoms are at stake here. We can argue about policy later, but let's save the country. You see? And also for our mental health, which I go into. If you look at my episode on healthcare, I go into and on crime, how it is a crime against American citizens for us to keep dealing with the drain that having Donald Trump in the spotlight and all of his denigration and all of his, the sky is falling, and all of his rhetoric and just, oh, it's so vitriolic. It's so incendiary. It incites people to do bad things when before we could just agree to disagree. Inciting mobs, throwing gas on peaceful protests, and escalating them. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dial things back. My mental health is important. And so I would be lying if I did not say that to me, the candidate is clear. The winning ticket is clear. And I encourage you to put country first, and to be a real patriot, and to vote with Harris-Walz. Okay, well, again, I encourage you to like, share, subscribe. I invite you to put your thoughts in the comments section. Now, as I've said in previous ones, if you're going to put something in the comment section, don't just drop, support Trump. No, give me some fact-based information. Don't just drop zingers and one-liners and whatever. Don't just be mean-spirited and call me names. That I will not tolerate. I will not tolerate abuse, and I've already told you all that. I will not tolerate abuse. I do not mind disagreeing, that kind of thing, but let's make sure it's intelligent, that we put on our critical thinking and have an intelligent discourse. But I will not tolerate, I have the right, and I will use it, of deleting any comments that are bullying, that are insulting. We're not going to do that. That are condescending? No, that I will not tolerate. I do not tolerate abuse. That are gaslighting? Nope, not going to do it. So if you want to have an intelligent discussion, put your thoughts there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. Okay? Bye.